Hello everyone. So Ancestors has been out a few weeks now, and it seems to be doing alright. No report on the sales numbers yet, perhaps that'll take a month or two to accumulate, and that's if they care to give them out. We may even actually not see it until the console version comes out, to entice other gamers to buy it. The articles that have come out are dealing with the uniqueness of the game and how they are experiencing it. Some gaming news networks that have been interacting with the game for months, like Game Riot, know what's up and what to expect, and did a long and decent playthrough, which I recommend you see. Another channel that did a great and comical playthrough is Tagback TV, which I also recommend. Out of respect for spoilers and such, I'm not going to describe what I saw in their vids in terms of gameplay. If you want to spoil yourself, you're welcome to. But I will have a type of spoiler for some, I guess, later on, so I'll warn you. But while there are some positive articles, there are also others that didn't like the game design or the game itself, saying it was boring and they didn't know what to do. It warrants a look just because while myself and probably most of the people watching this video have been awaiting Ancestors THO for months, it's always nice to have a fresh perspective. We know it's a small company. We know that after the main tutorial level, they're not going to hold your hand much of the time. We know that the game expects you to think and to try to figure out things on your own. And finally, we know it's trying to put the essence of hominin evolution into a video game form. But we have to acknowledge and assume that some people seeing this game in their YouTube feeds don't know the game like we do. An article from Vice by Patrick Klepek claims it was one of the most boring experiences he had ever played. The article goes into describing the game's premise pretty well. It stops holding your hand after a bit. It treats a player discovering how to play as a game mechanic itself, and other such things. Either way, while enjoying some of the personal moments of discovery and accomplishment, Klepek noted that most of those moments were fleeting, and that a majority of the time it was frustrating to try to figure out how to do things, and boring. But the most important part of the article, I believe, is when he conceded that the game was designed not to hold your hand, and that once he contacted his fellow colleagues, who were also experiencing confusion and frustration, it was a relief. He sat back and thought. Once the game came out, there would be networks of players helping each other out, suggesting things and mentioning what worked for them and what didn't work for them over social media. Finally, Klepek said that maybe, just maybe, the game indirectly got humans to cooperate with each other to figure out how to play the game and work together, just like how your clan does. While he said that he wouldn't play the game again, he could respect it, because while other games merely say that they will be difficult but offer solutions for the player anyway, Ancestors THO sticks to its guns. Your ancestors didn't have something holding their hand, so you won't either. I can always respect an article like that. An honest opinion was given, but in the end, they knew it was just their opinion, and that others might have different feelings. Another site, GameSpot, I see tried to copy what I've been doing for a while now and explain the science and history behind the ancestors. A history behind the game, if you will. Alright, they weren't flat out copying me, but their 5-minute video offers 3 alright points for our evolution. And speaking of evolution, let's take a look at some of the new history and science we found in the game since its release. Okay, so this is the part where there might be a spoiler enough for some people. So, this is your warning. Please use the timestamp. So remember my list of probable apes that we might get to play as in the game? While I'm not going to say which apes are in the game from that list, I am adding 2 more. Well, technically 3. Also, I know some have been telling me that we will end with a species from the Homo group before the game's release, and I will just tell them, no, we're ending with Lucy. Because that's who Patrice would mention all the time, and he and other articles said that that's the species who we'd end with. But now after seeing the ending from someone's playthrough, I will admit, I am sorry community, you were right. Please forgive me. When we start, we do not start at Sahelanthropus tigensis. We evolve into the species. So that means we start with an older ape. It's hard for me to tell which ape we are since the gameplay vids I've seen fuzz out the names. And I myself will have to wait until December to play. So who is it possibly in reality? We don't know for sure, but my bet would either be Australopithecus or Australopithecus. Both were living in Africa at around 10 million years ago, and both were qualifying members for the lineages of humans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. But of the two, my best bet would be Australopithecus. Fossils support the view that human lineage evolved in Africa, which would negate a competing theory, where all African apes had died out, and Africa was recolonized by apes from Asia. Both theories are extremely interesting, but that's not all. For one thing, we don't end with Lucy. there are at least 2 more evolutions after her. So let's take a look. With skeletal features only slightly different from Afarensis, Australopithecus africanus, known as the southern ape of Africa, had a larger brain cavity and a protruding jaw. It walked primarily on 2 legs, but shoulder and hand fossils indicate that it could climb fairly well if needed. The first discovery was by Raymond Dart in 1924, when a quarry worker gave Dart some rocks that he thought he might like to look at. Dart noticed some fossils and worked to uncover them from the large stone. A baby's fossils of the species was recovered and given the name Tong Child for the small village of Tong in southern Africa near the quarry. It had ape-like features, but with human-like teeth. And at the time there was a struggle in the archaeology world since Tong stood in defiance of the near-perfect missing link named Piltdown Man, supposedly discovered in England. But after nearly 20 years of arguing, Piltdown was discovered to be a hoax, and Africanus was finally accepted into the human lineage. It's also one of the oldest human ancestors discovered in southern Africa, whereas mostly all the others were discovered in eastern Africa. It was first believed that Africanus was a mighty hunter, due to several later fossils being discovered, with others of prey animals. But in the 1970s and later, further examination of the fossils indicated that the apes were killed by other predators, meaning that they were prey themselves. Finally, due to studies of the teeth, it's thought Africanus ate a varied diet of fruits, insects, roots, and perhaps some meat, from scavenging eggs or abandoned predator kills. Alright, so you've been warned already. The game ends once you evolve into Homo ergaster. Now, I personally figured Panache would do something like this, where we would get through the preliminary ape ancestors and end with a Homo group, but by choosing ergaster, they skipped over 2 other Homo species, habilis and rudolfensis. I'll save those 2 for another video, but there's something else. Ergaster is largely considered to be another species, Homo erectus. Some even argue that erectus refers to the Eurasian species, while ergaster is the African variant. The shape and the character of the fossils are extremely similar. Some argue that even seeing how different modern humans can look while still being close genetically, that ergaster fossils could just be erectus individuals with slightly different proportions who are otherwise extremely close genetically. So while everything's practically the same except for maybe a small fossil here or there, I'll describe ergaster as being the same as erectus. Homo erectus, which means upright walking man, was one of the earliest of the human lineage to have body proportions similar to that of modern humans, with heights even ranging from 5 to 6 feet, or 145 to 185 centimeters, and may very well have been the first species to leave the continent of Africa. Several fossils and names have been associated with the species, which also displays their incredible range. Java Man, Peking Man, Turkana Boy. Erectus didn't just leave Africa, it bounded away from it, into Eurasia. The Java Man fossil also indicated a broken femur that had shown signs of healing, meaning that the clan member in question wasn't just left behind because they were extremely injured, they were taken care of. It's also the longest endured human species, having lived for over 1.7 million years. The species outdates us by 9 times in longevity. It is believed that they were the first to master the control of fire, which most likely helped with their ability to travel, scavenge, and hunt. They were the definition of survivors. I'll illuminate 3 eating habits of our ape ancestors just to close things off because in Ancestors THO, people seem to be eating everything. Since most of Sahelanthropus fossils have been found in layers that signify forested areas, and there are not enough teeth fossils to examine, we can only take educated guesses. It is thought that they mainly ate fruits and veggies, roots, seeds, and the occasional insect, but probably not meat. Whether what type of plants remains to be seen. Teeth fossils for the species, if found, could tell us much more. Artie was most likely an omnivore. Fossilized enamels were not very thick for hard types of plants, nor very thin for softer fruits only. The enamel remains were kinda in the middle, suggesting that it had a mixed diet between the 2. It also looks like it ate some meat, however, whether it actively hunted is something still disputed. It may be more likely that the species just scavenged. Since so many individuals have been found for Lucy's species, a great number of teeth have been examined for what type of wear and tear they have. Different types of food interact differently with teeth, leaving distinct textures and abrasions on the surface. What has been found was that Lucy preferred leaves, grasses, and fruit rather than harder and more abrasive foods like shrubs and tough roots. And while there might have been some scavenged meat as well, Afarensis probably lived most of the time as a vegetarian. And that's the video for today. Thank you for watching. I'm still working on ancestors for now, but coming soon, I'll start a segment on medieval history. Thank you to all my wonderful subscribers, and all those here for the first time. Check out my Twitter, Discord, and Patreon to chat and help support the channel. And if you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe for more historical content. I'm Eric the LonePineWolfman, and remember gamers, never stop learning.